Songwriter, rapper Aubrey Graham, aka hi everyone, Herthany Lost Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Drake and 21 Savage album, Her Loss. Yes, this is a new collab record from Canadian singer, songwriter, rapper Aubrey Graham, aka Drake, as well as maybe the greatest rapper from the UK, 21 Savage, who decided to team up for this surprise record that was announced a few weeks ago, and I was pretty excited for it, honestly, even though much of Drake's solo work as of late has been dreadfully boring. Teaming up with an artist with a million...
Wait, what?
Much of Drake's solo work as of late has been dreadfully boring. Teaming up with an artist with a million times more street cred than him could potentially pull a W. Put Drake in a mode where he's maybe...
I don't even agree. I don't want to be a glazer. I don't want to be a glazer. You can say it's boring, but I think he's been trying other stuff.
More aggressive and focused. Not to mention his last major collaborative effort, What a Time to Be Alive, with Future, had quite a few bangers on it. Maybe Drake and 21 would strike up some similarly exciting chemistry, especially on some low-key, cold-blooded shit. That would be great, and that's exactly what we hear for the first leg of this record. Whether that be the opener, Rich Flex, with its multiple beat and flow switches, it's hard as hell. But yeah, on this track, Drake and 21 are sounding unbothered and mean from front to back. It's about as great as an opener as I think you could ask for.
True.
And then we have Major Distribution, which is not as bold, does not feature as great a hook, but still scratches that very mean and low-key itch. The beautiful and glamorous intro is really nice as well. Sounds like something super elegant off a Kanye record. And with On BS, we get yet another hypnotic banger. It's one of many tracks on this record that are engineered so well. The bass, the vocals, the perks all come through so crisp. Meanwhile, on the lyrical front, Aubrey and 21 are on this just endless string of spicy flexes, but it's really their confident demeanor that sells it. These tracks really only account for one mood
Chat, I'll live to hear. I agree, actually. I agree.
Or mode on the LP. Things begin to morph as we go deeper into the record, sliding away from the quiet Slaughter Gang shit that 21 Savage sounds so at ease on, in favor of cuts that are a bit more buttery, melodic, and sweet. There's the underdelivered privileged rappers, where Drake sounds especially checked out on the vocal end. The sleepy synth passages laced into the beat aren't really helping. And I don't think this beat is really doing all that much for 21 Savage's violent and weirdly sexual bars here and there, complaining about his girl being on her period and wiping his dick off on her bra. 21 sounds even more out of his element, trying to sound romantic but not really on Spin Out You. This kind of vibe is just not really one that I think he thrives in. However, Drake on the back end doesn't sound too bad. He kind of carries on this track, but that's not surprising. A song of this style and vibe is kind of like a home game for him. However, nobody is carrying on the song Hours in Silence, which starts off smooth.
What song is that? Hours in Silence. Oh yeah, that one isn't great.
Somehow the fat must have went in a bus somehow. I don't even answer what's up. She's saying that shit.
I enjoy that song. I think it's a good ear break. You know what? When you listen to the album as a whole, I think it's a good ear break. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's fair enough.
Smooth and catchy enough, I suppose. But as soon as 21 comes through with this,
it's just too long. It's just too long.
Embarrassingly bad sung performance, it's just a mess. Because from there, Drake pretty much subjects us to this overly long vocal odyssey. With no direction or end in sight. Most of this track, honestly, is just a waste of time. But the crown jewel of the center of this album has to be Circo Loco, which has caused quite a stir online, not just because of its Daft Punk sample in the instrumental, but the bar where Drake is very apparently throwing a jab at Megan Thee Stallion. And yeah, the beat sucks. The Daft Punk sample is not really well placed. In fact, it's so buried you can barely hear it. And Drake's attempt at an interpolated hook.
Oh, please. I think it's creative. I think it's something that hasn't been done too often, and I think it's a refreshing attempt at something, and it has to be I think it has to be highlighted. I think he's just being a boomer. He's being overly protective. He's being a gatekeeper of music. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. I think it's stupid. Sorry. So this song. I'm not kidding. The only problem I have with this is the intro, the whenever the vocals kick in. I don't like the distortion of it, or like the That's like, fuck off.
Of, you know, One More Time is pretty embarrassing and a total non-starter. Thankfully, things move in a more positive direction past this point. Pussy in Millions features a very grand and feel-good trap beat, as well as a decent Travis Scott feature on the back end. 21 Savage sounds especially expressive on this track, and Drake's vocal lines are pretty on point. Meanwhile, Broke Boys is a woozy trap banger, probably the biggest banger on the record that we get since, you know, the first several tracks on it. That and the murderous Bot More Ends, which is mostly dominated by 21 Savage.
Wait, what?
I start
This?
to V. Snakes in the grass, so they say you alone at the top. But it's gotta be lonely below. You boys getting ready to diss. But don't even.
We have a few Drake solo cuts on the record as well, of course,
good,
like we
but-
had on What a Time to Be Alive, and these are mostly fine, kind of a mixed bag, though.
I
Middle
like
of
the
the
bass line
Ocean
of it.
is kind of that smooth, classic, diaristic Drake that we know so well,
Sounds funny.
which is
That's
not
something
entirely
I-
a bad thing. I think these songs, when he's really kind of in his feelings and going over his past, his successes, his current mindset, it tends to be moments where
Oh, the second half of it. I feel like the beat is fire. I feel like the vocals kind of fall out of sync with the beat sometimes, but it's okay. It's just for me, it's the vocals feel off.
where he's
sometimes.
really
It's okay.
focused. Not to mention some of the best and most genius bars
What?
on the entire record
That's
are
all.
on here.
What's the question mark?
Cirrus Cloud
Saying a bad
reference.
take.
Also, like feeling like an Amber Alert, the way he takes her to the mall and she finds Tiffany. But by that same token, Jumbotron shit poppin' does absolutely nothing for me, especially since over much of the track, Drake sounds like he's doing his worst Young Thug impression. Plus all these goofy gunshot sounds with his mouth, it's just shit. And 3 a.m. on Glenwood sees 21 Savage pretty much doing that diaristic Drake thing. And he sounds kind of silly doing it, honestly, even though he does get some personal stuff off of his chest in the process. The closing track, I will say, is pretty interesting. I think, in a way, it is a meta-reflection on much of the toxicity on the album so far. Drake kind of paints himself as somebody who is being left in the dust at this point, and maybe that's due to his behavior, maybe that's because of her. I guess in a way, her loss, at least that's what it seems like his attitude is to a degree. But yeah, honestly, even though this record has its duds, it really surpassed my expectations. In fact, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, especially given a lot of Drake's recent output. Even if Drake did carry on a lot of these tracks and 21 wasn't exactly like the star of the show for most of it, like clearly Drake was the guiding personality for much of this project. Still, it seems like bringing him into the fold in such a close and intimate way
Why isn't the whole point of a feature though?
has lit enough of a fire under Drake's ass or inspired him to actually have some goddamn fun, to the point where much of this album is actually tasteful, entertaining, cool to listen to, and not nearly as corny as it could have been. Spare those jabs at black women that just didn't really need to fucking happen. In one breath, I could say this is Drake's best output.
It's a collab, yeah, but I also feel like they didn't. Well, I mean, it's a collab. Yeah, you're right. I think there's only a couple instances where they don't feel like they're both on the same page on the beat, but for the most part, the synergy is pretty good. I enjoy
years,
it.
but in another, consider what his output has been over the past several years.
Synergy's
So
pretty good.
even if this is a big improvement, what does it really mean? Look, all I really do know is this album has quite a few bangers on it. Well produced, well performed, very catchy, very cold, very mean. And if you could somehow see yourself through the toxicity of it all, I think you will get quite a bit out of it.
Why would I
But if
glaze
not,
Drake?
and you want to pass on it, I don't think there's anything that you're really truly missing anyway. I'm feeling a decent
What do I have to
strong
gain from
6
it then?
on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the
Why not? I have nothing to gain from this shit. Cause Kai talked to him, dude. Chat. I have all people out there. Everybody shit on Honestly Never Mind or whatever, the album. I said I loved it. When everybody said they fucking hated it, I said I loved it. Back then, Kai wasn't around. I wasn't friends with him. I didn't even know him. The album, Honestly Never Mind or whatever, it's good. It's a good album.